imposed upon him which responsibilities? Taking care of Kodesh HaKodeshim, like we see here in chapter 4. They're in charge of the most holy vessels. But we don't understand, at the end of our Parsha, after we study, gentlemen, until now, the Torah is giving different roles, functions, okay? Different roles, different functions for each tribe, especially for the tribe of Levi. But what we don't understand, at the end of the Parsha, what is it that they're not allowed to see? V'lo yavo lir'ot. And why would it cause them death penalty? Okay? Right now we're talking about taking apart the Mishkan, putting it together. Several commentators have been dealing with this matter, and we want to share with you an idea that we can better understand here what is happening. When the Torah says, do not Al tachritu et shevet mishpachot ha'akati. You have to do something to make sure that the tribe, the family of Kehat, will not be devoured. What's going on? What are we talking about? Rather, in order to better understand, we have to understand that the Holy Ark relates to the metaphysical. The Holy Ark refers to something which is so holy. It's above and beyond the physical world. Of course there's a physical ark. Of course it's constructed and made from wood and coated with pure gold and so on and so forth. But the Holy Ark, we have to understand, represents the divine presence, represents the divine Shekhinah. The Holy Ark, you're right, is inside which area of the holy, of the Mishkan and in the temple? It's inside the area called Kodesh HaKodeshim. And we don't even serve on the ark. We don't even go into the ark area only once a year by one person. So therefore, comes the Torah and says, Levi, Kehat, you're in charge of taking care of the ark. We're traveling, you're going to be carrying it. We're camping, you're going to be putting it down. You're going to be building it and taking it apart, and so on and so forth. So here we're learning that the most unique of the tribe of Levi, is the one responsible for the carrying, the taking care of the maintenance of the most inner kelim of the Mishkan, the ark, the shulchan, the menorah, the mizbachot. They're the ones taking care of it. But what's the problem? The Torah doesn't allow to visualize. The Torah does not allow to visualize or see the ark. So how will the families of Kehat, who are carrying the ark, how will they be prevented from seeing? So the Torah says, the Kohanim, here in this chapter, are going to spread, in verse 6, are going to spread a kisui, a covering, before the Levim come into the Holy of Holies to take the Holy Ark. The Kohanim are going to be spreading what? Coverings over the Ark. And by spreading a covering over the Ark, we are making sure that everyone has their job. When the Torah says at the end of the section in verse 17 and 18, Al tachritu, do whatever you have to do to prevent the tribe of Levi, specifically here the families of Kehat. Don't let people compete right now. Hey, you're a Gershon, stay away. You're a Merari, stay away from here. No competition. You, Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron, are commanded at the end of the Parsha, do whatever has to be done to make sure that when the camps are folding up and beginning to travel, it's not first come, first serve. And all of a sudden, Merari runs 100 meters in 9.1 seconds, faster than the Olympic record or whatever, I don't know. And they come and say, I want to carry the ark. I'm sorry. You have very good wishes. You have very healthy aspirations, but this is not a competition. The order of camping, like we learned yesterday, is divine. in where we're going to be sitting, where we're going to be, and which side is a divine order. So to the way we're going to be in transporting things is a divine way. So to the way we are walking is going to be a divine way. So you, Moshe and Aaron, have to make sure that there's a division of labor according to God's will. Who does what? And so too, when the families of, which families? Kehat. When they're going to be carrying the Aron, they're going to be getting everything fully covered because they're not allowed to cast their eyes. The Kohanim. Kohanim who are allowed to be connected to the Kodesh HaKodeshim to see it there, they're going to make sure that it will be covered as we see in verse 5. Let's see it together. Uva Aaron uvanav. And Aaron and his children will come. Binsoa machaneh. When the camp is traveling. Et parochet hamasach v'chisuba. They're going to cover 8 Aaron ha'idut. They're going to cover the ark. Why are they going to cover the ark? Because if they don't cover the ark, and the tribe of Kehat gets their hands on the ark to transport it, they're going to die. They're not allowed to visualize to see it even. So here is a unique command to Moshe and Aaron at the end of the Parsha. Don't allow competition. Don't allow pushing. Okay, it's not an Israeli bus. You're getting onto the bus and everyone is juggling for position. No. And that's why it says here in verse 19, Vizot asulam. You have to make sure you do this. What do you have to do to make sure things are covered? V'chayu v'lo yamutu, and therefore they'll be able to live and not die. To live and not die. Begishtam et kodesh HaKodeshim. When you bring to them, you provide for them the Holy of Holies. So I think a major point here, we're ending this parsha, and it's very much related to Mount Sinai. Just like we learned in the second book of the Chumash in Shemot, that Mount Sinai had to have borders. Mount Sinai had to have red lines. So too now, the Mishkan inside the desert, we learned about the 3 dimensions of camping. The most holy one inside is the Mishkan. Surrounding them, the tribe of Levi. Surrounding them, all the other 12 tribes. That's where everyone will be living. It's a divine order according to holiness. So too when we're about to travel. This holy ark and the other holy instruments, Kalim of the Mishkan, must be covered. Otherwise, we're going to cause death to this holy family called the families of Kehat. And therefore, we're learning here, there are red lines. There are borders. We just don't do what we want, where we want. Okay? Like we explained yesterday in our Tanakh Shiur, Sefer HaChinuch writes, the Torah is comprised of 2 sides. Positive mitzvot and mitzvot aseh and mitzvot lo ta'aseh. The mitzvot aseh. Okay, let's just say, Steve, do you love your wife? Yes. Do you take out the garbage when she asks you to take it out? Yes. Every time?
Always.
Always. He loves his wife. He wants to do on behalf of his wife. The more he does on behalf of his wife, the more he loves. Why do we do the positive mitzvot of Hashem? Because we love Hashem. If you love an entity, an idea, a matter, then you do on behalf of that matter. No matter what time it is. No matter how difficult it is. When you're in love, love is something abstract. Then the more we're connected to that abstract idea, we're going to do on behalf. The more we do, the more love it adds. That's what the Sefer HaChinuch writes regarding the mitzvot aseh. So too on the other side. The mitzvot lo ta'aseh, if we know what God is, what He's about, we can't explain what He is because we can only explain what He is not. And we can realize how lofty He is, how great He is, how abstract He is, how powerful He is, how infinite He is, yes? Once we realize that, wow, we're in awe. We're in fear. And when God says, I'm going to give you 365 mitzvot lo ta'aseh, negative commandments, the more we adhere to those negative commandments, the more that we pay attention to them, the more we don't violate them, then we're building inside ourselves more and more fear. Is fear good? Absolutely. God has created for us an equilibrium, a spiritual equilibrium, that there must be a balance between what we are doing and what we are not doing. And that is building the most healthy soul of Israel, because there are people that are off balance. There are people that are wide angle people, extremes on one side or extremes on the other side, and Hashem doesn't want that. Yes. Or like the Rambam writes, he wants us to go on what path? Exactly. Rambam writes, and he writes several articles about this in his introduction books, to go in the middle, not to be extreme. And therefore, here we see an example that Aaron, together with Moshe, are commanded to worry and make sure that the families of Kehat will not die, will not be cut off, by making sure the instruments, the kelim, are covered up. And then when they get it, they will not see it, because they're not supposed to be seen. The Holy Ark relates to the metaphysical. And this is one more point I want to share with you. I'm sorry for taking your time. I hope I'm not stealing too much of your time. When we ask ourselves and analyze the question, what is the Kedusha of the tribe of Levi? Okay. We know that they're not Israelites, and we know that they're not Kohanim. So who are they? How do we understand them? And maybe it's a level of Kedusha that's not pnimi, that's really not deep down inside themselves, but is only reflecting certain things on the outside. Okay? You know, a Levi cannot eat the holy truma, but he has a Maser Rishon that he's allowed to eat. But the Maser Rishon, according to many authorities, are allowed to be eaten also by Israelites. You know, on the one hand, a Levi is second to the Kohanim, but you may know that there's no mitzvah for a Levi to remain holy, to have not to be defiled. Who are not allowed to become tamei? Only the Kohanim. So we see that the Kedusha of the Leviim is, on the one hand, a little higher than the Israelites, but it's not at all like the Kedusha of the Kohanim. And therefore, it's not maybe an inner Kedusha, but it's some sort of external type of holiness related to certain laws of the Torah. And therefore, they're going to be carrying, but they're not holy like the Kohanim. They can't see. They're not allowed to look at the Holy Ark. B'ezrat Hashem, let us continue to learn and be imbued with more faith, with more love, and with more awe from our wonderful Torah. Shalom, shalom.